came to an end. The French kids no longer touched the Jewish kids. Ever. And we made sure of it. And it wasn't done in a way where we went and we pushed somebody around. We put people in the hospital. And we made sure that they knew who did it. And the front page headlines in the French press were Jewish Nazis, the Jewish community, the community of elitists hated us. They called us Jewish Nazis. It's much like what we heard in the election that just went in Israel. If you're Likud, conservative, you're like a Jewish Nazi. But it stopped. My part in the Jewish Defense League had far more to do with helping to get Russian Jews out of Russia. They were refuseniks. And if you wanted to get an exit visa, you had to hand over your passport, your papers, the whole bit. You weren't allowed to have a job until they reviewed. And the moment they said, refused, you're done. Couldn't work, didn't have papers, didn't have an apartment to sleep in, sent off to the Gulag. I can tell you a really interesting story, but we don't have time. But I'll tell you what I did. I chained myself to the consulate gates of the Russians in Montreal. And when the RCMP came with bolt cutters to take me out, we would struggle so that others can go and chain themselves too. One after another after another. And then we threw a coffin in a huge march on the embassy lawns, the Russian embassy lawns in Ottawa. We had one group of guys, I wasn't part of it, who put mice in their pants. They had bags with drawstrings. They went to the Bolshoi Ballet, visiting Montreal. And here they jump up and like this. And they're yelling, mice, mice! And the mice are running. Ended it. These are all true stories. One day the RCMP come knocking on my door. I think my mother, if she wasn't as strong as she was at the time, she would have had a heart attack. They're looking for me. They came to recruit me. They wanted me to join the RCMP. They figured they wanted more ethnics on the force. And maybe they figured better to have me on the force where they can see me. That's what we have to do. That's what we have to do. Beth, if you don't mind me repeating just a short exchange we had about there are groups doing things. And we should all come together. Instead of working, the greatest success, in my opinion, is not coming at somebody for one big force. There should be hundreds of groups coming at every angle, constantly. Constantly. Not coordinated. Just let the people live. Go at the enemy. And the enemy is the government. The enemy is a heartless piece of work in Toronto who says, I don't care if you can't afford to heat your house. I don't care if you don't have the money to put food on the table. I don't care if you have to wait 2-3 months to see a doctor, if you can even get an appointment. As long as our retired civil servants get their pensions. The time has come for us not to care. I was telling you the story about the Washington motorcycle ride. When we came back, I got to customs. I was tired. I was wet. It was a horrible rainy day. And I pulled up to the kiosk, and the guy inside, this is at Galganov. And the guy inside says to me, I'm sorry, at Thousand Islands. Yeah, Galganov. The guy inside says, from his booth. He says, "What's your plate number?" First of all, he was rude. He says, "Where you been?" I said, "Washington." "How long?" He said, "A few days." He says, "What's a few days?" And I was really tired. I didn't know anymore. 2, 3 days? I said, "A few." He says, "What's a few? Give me a number." I said, 2, maybe 3. He says, "What's your plate number?" I said, "I don't know." And I never remember my motorcycle number. He says, "Get off your bike and tell me." He says, "Why don't you step out and take a look?" The guy says, "That's not my job. Get off your bike and tell me." It's like, and there's people waiting behind, also motorcycle riders with my group waiting behind. So I get off the bike and I'm really, really close to the kiosk. And again, I'm not a kid. I'm in my 60s. And I'm not skinny. And it's hard to get off the damn bike because I'm so close to the booth. So I get off the bike, I lean behind, and I yell the numbers at him. I get back to the bike, I can't get on. I mean, I'm too close to the booth. I don't have like 6-foot legs. I struggle, I get on the bike. I don't remember what the guy said next, but I remember what I said. And I wasn't polite. I used language that I'm not going to use because of... I said, "Why don't you just say thank you?" The guy looked at me, confused. I said, "Say thank you. I'm paying for you to be in that booth. I'm in my 60s. I'm going to work till the day I die so you can retire at 55 years old. Say thank you."
Well done for you.
The guy didn't know what to say, except have a nice ride. I was so pissed. I rode off, pulled over to the side waiting for the other riders. And so I figured, you know, they're going to get somewhat the same treatment. Boom, boom, right through. What did he say to you? Nothing? We have to stop apologizing for breathing. Doesn't matter how much money you have in the bank, how big your pension is, what you don't have. Doesn't matter what your possessions are, your house, cars, trailers, it doesn't matter. You worked for it. It's yours. It doesn't belong to some jackass in government to grab from you. Ann and I did not build another house because I don't need a civil servant standing there telling me how deep my concrete should be, or how many pieces of steel I should put in rebar. I don't need this. I live in a community where the houses are 150 years old. They were built with timbers on boulders. There were no inspectors. There were no architects, no engineers. And those houses are still standing without the help of government. I don't suggest for a second that we don't need government. But we don't need this government. I don't suggest for a second that government doesn't fill a real role that we need in society. But we don't need as much government as we have. I look at the government. It's too big, too expensive. It's them against us. And it's going to collapse. There's not enough money.
May I ask a question? Are you talking about the federal or the provincial or both?
I'm talking about municipal,
Oh, municipal. Oh,
provincial, federal,
all of them.
every level of government. We have a friend, Tammy Hart. Y'all know Tammy?
Yeah. we do.
Tammy fought till she was blue in the face because the people who are the managers of the township were getting $100,000 a year, and there wasn't enough. $100,000 a year, and it's not enough. But it's not the $100,000. It's the $70,000 she's going to get for the rest of her life from the day she retires. It's not enough. Nobody in government should make more money to do a comparable job than what is paid in the private sector. Nobody in government should have a better vacation than what people in the private sector have. Nobody in the government should be fireproof. Don't do your job, you're gone. No such thing as tenure, especially for teachers.
Right.
Nobody should have anything that we don't have.
Are unions, Howard?
It's a unions, yeah.
So what? So what?
How do we fight unions though, Howard?
You chain yourself to the front gate. You think I'm joking?
I don't think you are joking, but I'm not going to chain myself to a gate.
You think I won't?
You might.
Not I might. I am furious. I am absolutely furious. If I didn't have the wife I have, I didn't prepare myself years ago for what could happen, I could be living on the street now. So, what is my obligation? To sit down in the safety of our trailer and write a blog and get people stirred up? I mean, anybody can do that. I think my obligation, I'm not a politician, I never was, I've tried a few times, I'm miserable at it. I think my obligation is to make sure that people are aware that there's a fight. And the fight is coming. I can tell you, without any exaggeration whatsoever, the people we met in Texas, the people we were in Atlanta for a couple of weeks prior to Texas, the people I know from around America, they're all gunned up. They've got hundreds of thousands of rounds of ammunition, and they're just waiting for the day. I can tell you that there are people who are really angry. These are Americans. They're not like us. They weren't raised to think that the government has all the answers and we should be polite about it. They were raised with the First Amendment and the Second Amendment. They don't like what they're seeing, and they're not about to give anything up. We have to start thinking we're not prepared to give anything up either. Until we stand up and say, screw you, block traffic, chain yourself to the gates, we won't have a fight. That's what we have to do. I'll end with my wife's story. You gotta leave the room? I guess not. So, we get into Canada on Sunday, and we're tired. We just drove 2,000 miles, what, 4 days or 5 days? 4 days. We are wasted. And now we have to set up a whole RV center. I mean, we got stuff to build. You have no idea. We got like $1,000 of crap in the back of the truck. This is just like an opening line, right? And we have a lot of things to do. The fact that I'm here is like a vacation for me because it gets me away from doing this stuff. We are bone tired. So we're in Cornwall. We went to Harvey's for a bite because they make hamburger into a beautiful thing. And Ann says I'm going to take Stryker for a walk. We're tired. We just came back from Texas. We're where the slogan is "Don't mess with Texas," and everyone has a gun. They really do. And as she walks out with the dog, this Muslim woman and another woman come walking by. Everybody loves Stryker. I mean, everybody loves Stryker. If you don't love Stryker, there's something wrong with you. This woman gives Ann's dog, Stryker, a dirty look. Because to Islam, dogs are dirty. So she walks by and she gives the dog a dirty look. Look at my wife's face. Now, would you expect her to turn around and say, F-O? I wanted to use the real words. I figure it was a fair fight. 2 of them and 2 of her. They didn't respond. Stand up. We screwed it up. The baby boomers are responsible. We did. What we did, we have to undo. Because if we don't undo it, it ain't gonna get done. Thank you very much for having me. We're done? No questions?
It's kind of, it's not so much a question, but you did raise the idea of too many kids going to universities. And it just caused me to think of another event that I'm going to on the 29th of April. It's at the War Museum, and it's the MacDonald Laurier Society's Great Debates. And it's exactly on that topic, too many going to university. The reason I want to go to it is because I felt that for years. So I think you really nailed it there.
That's where they're poison.
Yeah.
Ontario-
Minds are ruined.
Ontario should invest more money in the trades than they should trade, or they should invest in basket weaving. And
Except
we should
they
vet-
create-
We should vet our, I'm sorry?
Sorry, but they've created the College of Trades in Ontario.
Yes.
And good luck getting a trade. You're licensed to the
It's just taxation.
incredible amount of licensing
Just
and
let people
crap.
work, Beth. Let
You can't even be